Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to decode the hidden patterns in our daily conversations, and we'll be using the groundbreaking work of Dr. Eric Berne as our guide.
Okay, let's just dive right in. You know that feeling, when you're stuck in a conversational loop that goes nowhere. You walk away feeling totally drained, misunderstood, like you were both just reading from a script you never even knew existed.
Well, according to psychiatrist Dr. Eric Berne, a lot of these interactions aren't random at all. They're actually predictable, unconscious games that we play every single day. And these aren't about having fun, oh no. They're about hidden emotional payoffs.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down what these games actually are. We'll introduce you to the key players living inside your own head. Then we'll look at some common examples you are definitely going to recognize. And most importantly, we'll show you how to step off the playing field for good.
All right, first things first. What exactly is a psychological game? Now, it sounds simple, but the meaning behind it is actually pretty deep.
Dr. Berne defined a game as a series of interactions that, they look pretty straightforward on the surface, but underneath, there's a hidden psychological agenda. It's all about the subtext, the unspoken stuff that's really driving the whole conversation. So, and this is the crucial part, these games are not about winning or losing, not really. They're patterns we fall into to avoid facing uncomfortable feelings. And almost always they end with someone feeling frustrated or confused or resentful. You know that bad feeling you get at the end? That's the payoff the game was actually designed to create. Weird, right?
Now, to really understand the games, we have to meet the players. Berne has suggested that every one of us operates from three distinct ego states. He called them the parent, the adult, and the child.
That's right, three of them. The parent, the adult, and the child. And what's so fascinating is that you shift between these roles all the time, a lot of times without even realizing it.
So first up is the parent. This is that part of you that's like a guide or a critic. It uses phrases like, you should, or you should never. It's basically your internal library of all the rules and values you were taught growing up.
Next, you've got the adult. Think of this as your rational self, the data processor. It lives in the here and now, just calmly solving problems based on facts, not on some old rules or raw emotion.
And finally, we have the child. This state holds all the feelings from your childhood, the joy, the fear, the curiosity, the anger. It's where all your spontaneous and instinctive reactions come bubbling up from.
Now, what's really cool about this is seeing them all side by side. You see, games start when our conversations get crossed. So, for instance, say one person is speaking from their adult state, just asking a simple question, but they get a response from the other person's defensive child or their critical parent. That right there, that's when the game is on.
Okay, so now that we know the players, let's look at some of the games people actually play. Berne came up with dozens of these, with these really memorable names like, Now I've Got You, You Son of a Bitch, or If It Weren't For You. For this explainer, we're just going to focus on one of the most common dynamics, the drama triangle of the victim and the rescuer. I promise you have definitely seen this one in action.
First up is the classic game of helplessness. We've all seen it, and if we're being really honest, we've probably all played it at some point.
The person playing the victim is always talking about how helpless they are. They make it seem like their problems are completely unsolvable, like they have absolutely no power to change anything.
So, the real goal here isn't to solve the problem. Nope, it's to find a rescuer and prove their own belief that they're totally helpless. The psychological payoff they get is all that sympathy, and it's the perfect justification for not having to do anything about their situation.
And of course, every victim needs a rescuer. This is the other side of that same coin, and it's just as much of a game.
The rescuer just swoops in, so eager to solve the victim's problems. And they often feel pretty noble about it too. They get a real sense of purpose from being the one who has all the answers.
But here's the twist. By constantly saving the victim, the rescuer is actually making them even more helpless. They're stopping them from learning how to solve their own problems. The rescuer's payoff is that they get to feel needed and in control. But it just creates this endless cycle of dependency.
So, why is it so important to be able to spot these games? Well, because that hidden payoff might feel good for a second, but the long-term cost is huge. These games are like termites in a relationship. They just slowly and silently eat away at trust and any real connection.
And this chart really just spells it out, doesn't it? Instead of leading to connection and intimacy, these games almost always produce negative results. They create resentment, they cause misunderstandings, and in the end, they keep us stuck. And they do this at work, with our families, with our partners, everywhere.
But here's the good news. Once you can see the game, you get the power to stop playing it. Seriously, the first step to freedom is just being aware. Here's how to do it. The real key is to consciously shift out of that emotional child or that judgmental parent and into your thoughtful adult. So when the victim says, "I can't do anything right," instead of rescuing them, the adult responds with something like, "That sounds really frustrating. What are some possible next steps we could look at?" That one little shift completely disrupts the game's script.
Now this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. Trying to win the game by, outsmarting the other person or proving them wrong, that just means you're still playing. You're still on the field.
The real victory is choosing authentic, direct communication instead. It's about dropping the roles, dropping the hidden agendas, and just connecting with another person, adult to adult.
Ultimately, just recognizing these patterns gives us a choice. We can keep running the same old plays that always lead to frustration, or we can step off the field and into something real. Healthier, more honest relationships aren't about winning games. They're about having the courage to stop playing them altogether. And the power to change that script, it's in your hands.